some years back now, you and Paul Young and Nora Twomey founded Cartoon Saloon. Obviously, right out the gate, you're going to be a much smaller operation than you have become today. And so I'm curious, in terms of, you know, animation, what did directing look like for you guys back then?
Yeah. Directing, I think for me was a bit of a necessary evil. I think when we set up the studio, I kind of wanted to, obviously tell my own stories and all, but I also liked the idea of working in a team and getting to animate and draw and design a lot. And so, um, honestly, when we first set up, directing could mean just doing everything yourself or doing most of it with some help. Um, Maybe the first experience I saw of directing on any kind of a scale was some of Nora's short films. And she would have supervised the storyboards or done them herself, posed out most of the key poses for the scene over the layouts. She worked closely with her husband, and he was a background artist and a storyboard artist. And then she would have given us scenes to animate, and sometimes she took them back and like corrected them herself, and it was very like simple and controlled like that. And then also she would have worked with one or two other people to composite it and paint everything too. So it was really like, we're talking like maybe 8, maybe 10 people max for those projects early on.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. You talk about making some key poses. Reminds me honestly of some of the Looney Tunes guys, Chuck Jones and
Yeah,
those guys
yeah.
on keys. And then honestly, in terms of kind of correcting some of those drawings, is it's somewhat Hayao Miyazaki.
Yeah,
That's some scenes and kind of
yeah, stuff that grew out of necessity, I started to realize did have a precedent, because I would talk to other animation directors in Ireland who were maybe doing commercials, and when we were doing commercials, we started doing the thing that we were advised to do by Paul Bulger, who's another Irish animator who'd worked for Don Bluth and everything, and he would do, yeah, we would do the poses, key poses, for the animators, or not key poses, but like layout poses, like
okay.
big expressions, or not like, the animator could still change them, but also a thing called scene illustrations, which was really important, and it's become really important of how I direct too, where we would make not just concept art, but an attempt at what the final image would look like, with effects animation, character animation, using Photoshop to kind of composite or simulate what we could do. And because early on we were just using After Effects and stuff, it was pretty easy to mimic what we'd done in Photoshop with After Effects. So we would show the client before we started the production what the final thing would look like, and it would kind of reassure them. But then as Nora and I started directing our own projects, we would do that to reassure ourselves, and we'd always have that to point to. And I mean, sometimes the compositing team would come up with something better, but we had at least a baseline that, okay, this is what it's going to look like. And I think it was something special about hand drawn for us, that you could kind of start with an illustration and understand pretty well how you'd get that look on screen. There was no kind of like, oh, can the computer handle fur or anything like that. It was just, you could figure out the line mileage and everything else that was needed just from an illustration.